I think that it would be a mistake to call Euphoria the best show on TV right now, because it's already cemented itself as one of the greatest series of all time. Seriously, the way the show juggles so many interweaving characters and storylines is mind-blowing to me. It doesn't even matter that the cast all look 25, because it's a story about how broken adults are forged in high school. But it also features one of the greatest villains of all time, Nate Jacobs. It's not often that you find a villain who is truly threatening, who truly has you in suspense every time they're on screen. As soon as you hear Nate's theme, you know some disturbing shit is about to go down. So in this video, I wanted to answer the question, why is Nate Jacobs so terrifying? If you look at all the main characters on Euphoria, Nate kinda sticks out like a sore thumb. Rue is dealing with not only drug addiction, but a myriad of mental health disorders, likely including bipolar and OCD. Not to mention she's also a person of colour in a country routinely discriminating against minorities. Then there's Jules, who as a trans person is also at risk simply for existing due to similar systemic issues. Just think about how Nate treats her in that kitchen scene. I know what you are. Furthermore, Maddie and Cassie both come from broken households. McKay has a similar physique to Nate, but none of the resources. And Fez had to drop out of school
to run drugs to support my nana.
There's no one who comes even close to having the amount of power Nate has at his disposal. He's a straight, rich white guy, so institutionally there's not much going against him. Then on top of that, he's jacked as fuck and is basically a genius. Oh, and I almost forgot, his dad built half the town. Combine that with some deep-seated anger issues, and you have a recipe for disaster.
Did you rape her?
No! Fuck!
Did you rape her?
Did you rape her? Admit it!
Did you rape her?
No!
This whole sequence establishes, yes, the intelligence, but also the twisted morals of Nate. Let's make one thing clear. Nate isn't doing this for Maddie. That's his justification, but really, he's doing it to maintain his self-image. You see, Nate is all about control, and especially controlling his relationships with girls.
The power complex with him and girls comes from that thing of needing to win and needing to be strong, and if he can dominate them and if he can own them, then he can keep everything in order and he can keep it the way that it's supposed to be, which is straight and you know what I mean, and conventional, and like if he can keep it down those lines, then everything will be okay and he won't end up like his dad. So when things don't go that way is when he starts to get like super aggressive and super angry.
At that party, Nate was cuckolded in front of basically the entire school. So it's not enough for Maddie to lie to everyone that she blacked out. No, Nate has to take personal vengeance on the piece of shit who would dare embarrass him. Now that's not at all to excuse Tyler's actions. No matter how you look at it, what he did is still statutory rape. But let's be real, Nate would have found a reason no matter what. Tyler just made it easy for him. He's caught in such a catch-22 that even if he was just as physically intimidating as Nate, he still wouldn't be able to fight back, because Nate is dangling his life in front of his face. Honestly, I think the most unsettling thing about this encounter isn't that Nate stalked Tyler around town, or that he searched through the entire apartment, but the fact that he casually decides to take a shower afterwards. Nate is so confident that he's fucked this guy up enough that he's not even worried about getting sneaked up on while his back is turned. He's completely in control. So that was the moment when I first found Nate scary. The moment I found Nate terrifying though, was when this happened. Nate gets away with strangling Maddie. Just look at how utterly brutal the marks are on her neck. This is the most unhinged we've ever seen Nate. But make no mistake, this isn't a blind rage. It's very deliberate. He makes sure to drag her away to a place where no one is looking, so that there aren't any witnesses. And it's for the exact same reason he beats up Tyler. She's made an embarrassment of him, so now he has to punish her to make sure she never does it again. And Nate knows he'll get away with it, because even if Maddie wanted to report it, she knows that she'd never stand a chance against the army of lawyers his family could afford. let alone Nate himself. In fact, Nate getting caught at all was only because of a massive coincidence. If not for the air conditioning machine being broken in Maddie's classroom, she probably wouldn't have passed out, and no one would have discovered the marks on her neck. So when the cops show up, Nate has no idea that they're coming. This is the genius of Sam Levinson. He takes Nate and puts him in a situation where his back is completely up against the wall to see what he's capable of when he's not in control. During my rewatch of season 1, I forgot how long this investigation storyline actually goes on for. Not only does it take 2 episodes for Nate to clear his name, but in the show's time, he's suspended for at least a month. At first, I thought maybe Nate actually was just bored, but then I was like, nah, he would have had a plan in mind from the moment he was sent out of class. Basically, Nate had to lay low and wait before he could frame Tyler for assaulting Maddie, because he knew that there would need to be a significant gap between the night of the carnival and his confession for the cops to believe it. It's a plan that only someone as ruthless as Nate could come up with, because it relies entirely on him having dirt on both Tyler and Jules for it to succeed. And the thing is, everyone knows that Nate did it. The cops know, the principal knows, Maddie's parents know, even the other kids probably know it. I mean, come on, Jules speaks up about seeing Maddie getting choked by Tyler like a day after Tyler's confession. It's too perfect. So the idea that Nate can not only walk into this party, but have his name chanted over and over again, that is terrifying. It's the same with what happens between Nate and Cassie at the start of season 2. Cassie is Maddie's best friend. She knows about all of Nate's abuse, and yet, she still gets in the car with him. It makes me wonder how much of Nate's personality is just an act. You can never really tell. Is he actually breaking down to Maddie here? Or is he just pulling her strings so she doesn't tell anyone about what she saw on his phone? I think the only scene that we ever see the real Nate is when he reveals himself to Jules.
At night, I fall asleep to you. And in the morning, I wake up to you. Kind of feel closer to you than I do to anyone in the whole world.
But then, at the flick of a switch, he turns back into the cold and sinister villain we all know, delivering his most scathing threat yet.
I don't think he knows either, because there's a moment where you see him with her, and you're not sure. I mean, I wasn't, even when I was doing it, whether I was being truthful with her or whether I was manipulating her. Like, I didn't know, and we kind of toe that line a lot of the way through, and it kind of helps not having a clear stance on what he thought about her.
It's this mystery at the heart of Nate's character which drives his anger. He doesn't know who he is. There's so much childhood trauma plaguing his mind from discovering his dad's sex tapes that he's confused about his own identity. He was raised to be conventionally masculine and straight, all the while knowing his dad was neither. So for him, the answer to whether or not he actually loves Jules is entirely fogged out because of all the feelings he's tried desperately to repress growing up. That's why he needs control over Maddie, because everything else for him is so wildly out of control. You know, it's one thing for me to say that I find Nate terrifying, but the fact that his own dad would agree with me, that's something else. Just look at how Cal reacts when he finds out about Maddie's injuries. There's not a doubt in his mind that Nate did it, but what scares him more is the idea that Nate is so far gone that there's literally nothing he can do as a father to fix what's been broken. To his credit though, he does give it his best shot. Here's how that goes.
You think you're tough now, huh? Huh? Come on, Nate.
You always hear the critique about how Nate is too overpowered, but that's kind of the point. Think about what he represents in the show. He's the embodiment of the worst possible version of white privilege, and the notion that if you have enough power, you can get away with anything. So why is Nate Jacobs so terrifying? You need only look at that final scene he shares with Rue in the season 1 finale. She's completely aware he blackmailed Jules into lying to the cops, but she can't do shit. He's playing with the cheat codes on, in a broken game.